What is good, guys, man? Thank you for tuning back into the channel, man. If you're new, make sure you hit that sub button down below to be notified for every single video that I drop, man. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, man, and let's get into the video. Y'all see what that title is, man. It says former stripper sees demons manifest in the nightclub. Um, I'ma just say, man, going to the club with all the rap music playing or whatever the case may be, you gotta expect that, to be honest, man. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video, man.
I would go see my half sister and I would go see my biological father in secrecy, every weekend. And that's when the molestation began to happen at night. It really took place from when I was 7 years old all the way till I hit puberty at 12 years old. So whenever we would go spend the night, that's when the molestation would happen. When I was sleeping, he would come into the room and assault me. And this kind of just really put me in a mindset of isolation. Whenever I was home by myself.
One thing I hate is people that do that to little kids, man. You know what I'm saying? What will make somebody want to do that to a little kid, and they growing up and then they having all these type of demons attached to them, wondering why they depressed and stuff like that. All right, let's get it.
I always felt like I was alone. I would go to my room, I would play with my dolls, or I was just always in my own head, in myself. Because once that started happening, I just didn't really know how to connect anymore. I was feeling feelings that no girl should feel at 7 years old. When I started going through, my body started changing. I started getting hips. It was almost like I felt this way, but then it was like I felt shameful. I felt disgusted. So I just didn't know what to do with these emotions. So I shut in, and it went on and went on. I would lock the door at night. I would block, things in front of the door, and somehow, some way, he always make it back into the room. And I just felt just disgusted. I remember during this season, my mom got really sick. She ended up being in the hospital. She almost died twice. So I was afraid. I was afraid of what was going to happen if I did say something. I was afraid how she was going to react, if she was going to make a scene. I was afraid to break her heart, especially since she was so sick. I had just got her back home. We almost lost her twice. She went through extensive, surgery in her abdomen. So I was afraid to upset her or say something or just break her heart, and then I lose her forever. So that's kind of my mentality too, of why I just shut in even more. I remember having one or two conversations with him later on in the years, and just basically shaming me, calling me dirty, calling me nasty, and I never again spoke to him. So once that happened, I was, ditching school, breaking rules, and just, going out of control. And everyone just thought, oh, she's being a teenager. But no one really knew the pain. No one really knew what was deep down inside that was driving me to do these things. I was angry. I was pissed off, And I was like, Jesus, come and do in my life what everyone says you can do. I'm ready. Please, what everyone else says that you can do, come and do it in my life. I'm ready.
So what happened for you to go to a radical change to doing a total 180 and heading in the complete other direction later?
I used Jesus as a cover-up, and I suppressed my pain deep down low. I remember doing a session, and the prophet had brought up, mind you, no one knew my secret. Not my sister, not my pastors, not my mother, not my father. No one knew who had molested me and how long it happened. No one knew I was carrying this around. So when the prophet that I was sitting across, that was doing an inner healing session with me, had brought up what happened to me and told me that God said that he wanted me to forgive him, literally I felt like I got exposed. And I remember looking at the prophet and I said, hell no. It's like everything that I was suppressing literally came flooding back. And I looked at him and I was like, hell no. I was like, God, you must be out of your mind. And I got up from that table and I left. I left the church. I literally went ghost. I went back to smoking.
That is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you've been violated, like her or anybody else, and God tells you to forgive that person. Is one of the hardest things to ever do. Imagine somebody doing something to your family and God is asking you to forgive them. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very hard to do that, man. Very hard. But we can't enter into the kingdom of heaven if we have unforgiveness in our heart, man. You know, let's get back into it.
I went back to drinking, and I wanted, making up in my mind, like, okay, men ain't gonna use me anymore. And I was like, I'm not gonna let men look at my body for free. I'm not gonna let anyone take advantage of me anymore. So I was making inner vows. And I remember saying, if men want to look at me, if men want to take, me for pleasure, it's gonna be when I say so, in my control, and it's not gonna be for free. So I remember going to the strip club with some of my friends that I had reconnected with at this time, and we had applied, and we started dancing. And not only did we start dancing, but the shame that I felt, because I knew this is not what God wanted me to do. Like, I knew that if God were to come right now and find me where I was, he would not be happy. And so not only did was I in like a completely different place, the drug use got worse. So I went from, just using weed and liquor to, to numb that. I ended up going to even harder drugs. I started doing cocaine at this time, because in the clubs, that's what they do. They get coked out, they get drunk, they get high to really get yourself in a mentality to do what you're doing and be okay with it.
People at the club were treating you the same as what your biological dad was treating you when you were a child. He was using you for his own pleasure, his own sexual pleasure. And then in order for you to get accepted, you went to people that were doing the same thing, were using you for their sexual pleasures. So that's the ironic thing about it. But because you had walked with Jesus before, you knew that what you were doing was wrong. So you could ignore it. But deep down in your heart, you knew, you had this intuition. But there was another event that happened where it was kind of the last drop that made you run back to God. And that night was another night that was very intense for you. So I want to hear exactly what happened.
I was driving to the strip club, and I was listening to my music, and then all of a sudden I felt God's presence just rush into my car again. But this time it was so different. He was like, Amanda, come home, I miss you. And when I heard him say that, I literally just started crying. I was like, God, I know I miss you too, but I can't do what you're asking me to do. I can't forgive him, God. You know, God. In my work bag and heading into the club, to the dressing room to dress up. And I started my night like normal. I got changed. I did my hair. I did my makeup. I checked in. I went out to the dance floor. I gave the DJ my ticket so that he could announce me. And I waited for my regular. And I had a regular who would come in every week. And every time he would come, now thinking back on it, it's kind of crazy. Every time he would come, he always wanted to have his crazy spiritual experience. And I never put much thought to it. I was just like, okay, you're going to help me meet my quota for the night so that I don't have to owe back house at the end of my shift. But he would come in with anklets. He would come in with gifts and presents all the time. And every time we would dance, he would always say these, little chants and, look at me in my eyes and stuff. And I was just like, okay, maybe this is his thing. Maybe this is his fetish. That's just what he's into. And as an entertainer, your job is to fulfill their fantasy. So I never really thought much of it or him until this night. So I started my dance. I had turned around, and when I turned back around, because he was sitting in the chair watching, when I turned back around, the Holy Spirit allowed me to see who I was really dancing for, who I was really entertaining. And when I turned to look at him, my regular wasn't my regular anymore. He still had a human body of a man. He was still wearing what he was wearing, but his face was distorted. He had sharp teeth. His eyes were like black, and he just had this nasty look on his face, like this nasty, perverted lust, but the kind of lust where you're like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Kind of like, don't look at me like that. Like, I literally felt like fear and disgust, blood over me. I was so afraid of what I was seeing that I literally grabbed my heels and I ran back to the dressing room. I left him there. And as I was running through the crowd, it was packed. It was a Friday night. It was a Friday or a Saturday night. So the club was packed. And I remember some older guys were by the bar, and they turned around, they were reaching out. They're like, hey, let's go get a 2 for $25. But as I was looking at them, I was literally seeing them in the spirit realm. So I was literally seeing the spirits that they were carrying. I was literally seeing the demonic presence that were on him. Even the women, there was women that were on stage and their face was flashing and distorting. And I was sweating. I was getting flashes. I completely ran to the back. And I remember as I was running through the back, the doors were swinging behind me. And I got into the dressing room, and there was girls still getting ready, because mind you, I had just started my shift. It had to be like close to midnight around there. And I remember some girls were still getting ready, and the floor runners were there, and they're like, come on, everybody out to the dance floor. The owner's watching. Like, we need all dancers to the floor, Come on, girl, come on. And I was like, I can't. I feel sick. I'm not going out there. I feel disgusted. And I was just sweating. I felt like my life was like literally like I was getting hot flashes. And I remember just sitting there, and I just felt so hot. And everyone had left the room. And as soon as everyone left the room, I felt the Holy Spirit come into the dressing room. And I was still so like freaked out of my mind. And I was like, God, I don't want to be here no more. God, I don't want to do this anymore. God, get me out of here, God. God, if you get me out of here, Lord, I promise I'm so serious this time. If you get me out of here, God, I promise I'll leave. I'll forgive him, God. I'll forgive him, God. I'll do what it needs to do, God. I know that it's going to be hard, but if you get me out of here, God, if you get me out of here right now, God, I'll follow you. I don't care. Just get me out of here, because I'm afraid. I'm afraid, God. He was like, come on, let's go. That I got ready for church the following day. And when I got to church, the pastor's wife came up to me as I was walking in, and the first thing she said was, welcome home. Mind you, I've been gone for so many years. They knew what I was into. They knew what I was doing. And the first thing that she said to me was, welcome home. We missed you. And she gave me a hug.
If you made it all the way to the end, comment hashtag God uses your pain for gain. Hashtag God uses your pain for gain. Man, God definitely used all her pains, all her struggles from the essaying when she was young at 7 years old. My God, that is too young. And God used everything that she went through to bring her back to him, because of some people that are put into our life and just make our life toxic. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we don't ask for stuff, but it just happens. You know what I'm saying? And the fact, and then what's crazy is this, that while she is doing what she's doing at her job, God allows her to see the demon that was behind her, the lustful demon that was behind her. God was protecting her ever since she was young. Ever since she was young, man. This is an amazing testimony right here. I just want to give some advice to anybody that is going through something, that had a hard childhood, maybe went through essay or whatever the case may be. Just know that God will not give up on you. Just know that you are not what the person done to you. You shouldn't feel dirty. You shouldn't feel ashamed. You know, you didn't ask for these certain things to happen to you. Somebody else brought it on you. But just know this, that God would never give up on you. He will always make a way to see you through at the end of the day. He will use your pain as in gain to exalt you, to make you better than what you were. Your bruises, your bumps, your trauma, he'll turn it into something that's beautiful. So if anybody's watching this video that has ever been through what she's been through, especially at the age of 7 years old, probably younger, God bless you. You will get through it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm praying that you get through it. Y'all comment down below exactly what y'all think. And at the end of my videos, I always say stay inspired, stay motivated, stay grinding. Until next video. I'm out of here. Peace.